Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to take you through exact steps I took to make over $64,000 at the time of making this video from NFTs. I wanted to take the time and make a beginner-friendly video because I know a lot of people are still entering the space and they're thinking, is it too late? It's like December 2021. Is it too late for me to make a justifiable amount of money from NFTs? So in this video, I'm going to be taking you through exact steps, step by step, of what I do to get into projects and be able to mint projects like Wolf Game, NFT Worlds, World Wide Web, and the most recent one that I mentioned last week was Croaks, which is already doing a 3x after mint now. So if you like these kind of videos, go down below and press like, and not for nothing, I would like to interact with some more people in the space that is a little bit more serious. They would like to see what are the deep value things that make certain NFT projects more valuable while having the upside and make 10, 20, 30x returns. If you're one of those people, go down below and comment I subscribe. I will personally take the time to reply to each and every one of you. Getting things cracking, guys. Now, if you're a complete beginner, I'm talking about people who look at NFTs and they're like, non-fungible token? You don't have MetaMask installed, you don't even know what are gas fees? Then press pause, go to this video that I just linked here. This is Max Mahler's video who's going to take you through the absolute beginner steps. But if you've been in the space for some time, let's get into it. Guys, I'll preface by saying this, a lot has changed since the beginning of the year. You can no longer just blindly follow some people on Twitter, buy some stuff and expect to make bank. So the way I structured this video is I'll start off by laying the main framework of how to do the research, and then as the video progresses, I'm going to go into the more advanced steps that you need to go through in today's day to make sure you're not going to get left holding the bag. So it's going to take me a little bit of time to explain this full process. So if you don't have 10, 15 minutes to really understand the concept behind the game of NFTs to be able to actually make some money, then I'm sorry to say that you're probably not going to have the patience to do the due diligence that you need to do to get into these projects in the first place. Having that said, number one, get really organized. You cannot be blindly looking at projects all day and Twitter. You're just going to go into an emotional loop of all kinds of conversations. I personally use a Google Sheet that I track every single morning when I wake up about the projects that are upcoming and go through a series of steps that's going to help me stay on track on the projects that are worth my time. And with all the noise that's happening in the space in any given minute, I highly recommend you having some kind of process, whether it be a Google Sheet, a notebook, whatever works for you, but some kind of system that's going to help you keep track and extract the signal out of all the noise. Once you have that set, the first thing you need to know is where are the upcoming projects? And for that, I use three main tools. The first one is Rarity Tools. Second one is upcomingnftart.com and nftcatcherdrops.io. There are several of these websites, and honestly, there's enough projects coming out from any one of these websites to have more than enough deal flow you need. It's more about the process you're going to be doing, the due diligence you're going to be going through from the projects that are coming from this, more than which site you use. So I personally like Rarity Tools because quick glance, it lets me see the main details about the project, which I'm going to be needing to make sure I have enough information to further research. So on my sheet, I put down which platform I found it on and also what's the project name. And now I can start getting into the first main things about doing NFT project research, and that is the founder. See, in the investing world, I'm talking about professional investors, venture capitalists, one of the sayings they have in that industry is bet on the jockey, not the horse. The term basically refers to horse racing. Instead of betting on which horse is going to win, bet on the rider. So in our case, the horse would be the idea. What is the project about? Instead of that, they're talking about betting on the rider, which is the jockey, the person behind the NFT project. Going by that philosophy, if the founders of the project are completely anonymous, then right there and then, it's a hard pass for me. But projects with founders that I can look up and study, it moves on to the next set, which is real life links. This is basically links to other platforms about the founder where I can find out more information about his past and his track record and who he is as a person. Also, a lot of times most of these information can be found by a quick Google search with their name. But the most important part that you need to understand about this step is not to just find out the founder is some real person, he has a good amount of followers and all that kind of stuff. Not only to find that he has some kind of reputation, but more importantly, once you find he has reputation, how much of that reputation are they using to back this project? If you have been following the space for just even a couple of months, you've probably witnessed countless celebrities coming into the space, launching some kind of low effort project, making a couple million, and then heading out about their way. A lot of people made this mistake where they thought that, oh, this is a real person, they have so much credibility, social influence, etc. Their project must do well. But what they didn't really realize is how much of that reputation those celebrities had that they're using to actually back this project. Meaning, in another way to say it is, what is going to be the repercussions on their self-image and their brand as a whole if this project was to flop? A classic good example of this is Gary Vee. The guy basically went on record and said that if this project doesn't do well, I will take the proceeds from my agency, a $300 million business. Not valuation, actual revenue it does every year. I want to take the proceeds from that business and make sure that the people who believed in me are taken care of. That put massive conviction behind this project. People could look at that and say that, okay, I can't be sure getting into this if it's going to 10x my money or something, but I do know and I can be pretty comfortable that there's a lot of conviction for me to not lose my money. So once you understand that concept, now you can proceed to find a few more basic information about the social media and the influence that the person has. The first thing is the number of followers they have on Twitter. You want to quickly check if the followers are real. And one way to do this is to look at the average amount of engagement they get per post that they have made. And one more thing I like to check in just within Twitter is if they have been what I like to refer to as NFT baptized. This is basically something we can do specific to the NFT industry where we can click on their followers and do a quick scroll to see what kind of percentage would you just ballpark the number of followers that they have which are actually rocking profile picture NFTs. The reason this is good to do is because it's good to know that their followers are not just from some kind of other industry that barely have any idea this guy's even doing this project, but their followers, he has actually gone through the time and created a name for himself in the NFT world as well. On the project page, I like to take a quick look and see who else is following this project. This especially becomes really helpful if you have taken the time and built a good group of followers yourself for your own Twitter account, people who are quality in the space. I'm not talking about huge celebrities or even people like Gary Vee or influencers, so to speak. I'm talking about people who are into the space, they have made some calls on certain quality projects before the project really blew up, and they generally have a good insight about the space, and you can use as reference is that when you look at a new project, if they're also following that project, it's more likely that the project has some kind of substance because they also see something in it. Last thing I like to do on Twitter is to just search the project itself and see who else is talking about it and just scroll down for a couple of minutes and see what kind of other spaces are mentioning about. Is it positive, negative? Is it something interesting? Are there any red flags or not? By the way guys, if you watched the video till this far, you can follow me on Twitter and DM me. I'm going to send you a link to this sheet. It's the exact sheet that we're looking at in this video, and it's the sheet and the exact format I use on a day-to-day basis. With that being said, let's get back into the video. We're starting to wrap things up, and right now the next step, I like to look at the actual project itself. For the project-based concept, I like to look at what is the concept? What is this project about? Is it one of those 8,888 lions in the metaverse, blah, 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 and that's pretty much it? Is just a 10K PFP? Or is there something else more to it? And nowadays, unless the 10K PFP is done by a artist that actually has a name or previous projects they have done that have performed well, I'm mostly looking at utility. And the way you could think about utility is, what would be the value of this service if the person was to provide this without an NFT? Right? If somebody is providing a service to join their group because they're going to show you this and that, or show you something, or they're going to have access to a new tool or some kind of community, what kind of valuation would you have paid if this wasn't an NFT? Now, this is not some kind of mathematical tool. The point here is for me to just take a moment and think about the service that they're providing and the value, the real value behind it, and how much charged if we weren't in the NFT space. And this really gets you thinking that if there's some fundamental value in this community or not. That naturally brings me to the roadmap. Now, there's an important distinction to make when it comes to the roadmap, because there's mixed answers here. A lot of people nowadays are saying that the roadmap doesn't matter, and some people say, they still look at the roadmap. In my opinion, the roadmap is still important. It's just not to be used in the same way that you would use it back in February, March. See, people are making the mistake because they have that mentality from back then and trying to use it now, and it does not work. What I mean by that is, they go into a project, they see the roadmaps and all the promises they have. They have this already created, they're going to reveal it after the project launches, they have this many plans for 2022, etc, etc, etc. And they're using that information to see if they're going to get into the project or not. That is the complete wrong way to go about it. The way you should justify if the project is worth getting into is by all these steps mentioned thus far in the video. The founder, he has a good track record, how much of his reputation is behind the project, what kind of projects has he done in the past, etc, etc. Was he a winner before NFTs? Once and only once all of those things rank high, then we can proceed to look at the roadmap, because now you can see what the person is about, what they're capable of. It's interesting to take some time and see what do they have planned for this project that they're launching. The very last thing that I have is the art. Go figure. We're talking about digital art, and the art itself comes at the absolute last. And all I'm looking for in the art is how much effort was put into it. Does it look like something that you could just use a software and print out a whole bunch of it in a couple of minutes? Or does it look like something where there's some kind of effort really done behind an artist that has some kind of skill? Now, it goes without saying that there's a lot of projects that are very good without having almost any kind of art. There's projects that are selling out for 3 ETH a piece at mint with no kind of art at all. They're just a meta pass. Gary Vee stuff, I could probably draw that with my left hand, and I'm a right-handed person who never drew anything. But an exception is if the project is by an artist, the person is like, that's what the whole project is about, is his art and his track record. You might want to do some due diligence and see how his previous projects did that are about the art, how some art critics are talking about it that are in the NFT space. It's again, having a few good people that you can trust from the artistic side this time in your follower base, that you can kind of see what they think about it, if they talked about it, or you can message them and see what they think about it, things like that, to get you a further insight in the due diligence if it happens to be an artist itself. Otherwise, this is completely subjective, and that's why it is the last step on the list. There you have it, guys. If you watched it for this far, thank you so much for taking time to watch it. It really means a lot to me. If you could go down below and press the like button, it would mean even more and really help out the channel, and it will make it a lot easier for me to take out time out of my day that I usually spend just researching and being a degen, but putting it chronologically in a systematic order so it's easy to consume as these videos. So if you haven't done so already, please go down below and press the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.